We have our bracket for the big dance. Now, if you're like me, you want to know which upsets to pick when you're filling out this sheet, right? I mean, that's the key. I readily admit, though, I'm terrible at it. I've won maybe twice in 30 years, but I have studied this year's teams and this season, and I see some interesting matchups, so let's break it down with some facts. We will start in the South with number 1 overall seed Auburn, who lost 3 of their final 4 games. Perhaps they were bored, waiting to get to the dance. And picking against the number 1 seed in the first round is unwise. Since 1985, those teams have lost just twice in 152 games. In the second round, however, the Tigers could meet the ACC tournament runner-up and possible dark horse, Louisville. The Cards have the guard play to run with the Tigers. One of the biggest Cinderellas in the tournament might be UC San Diego, who could very well take out the 5 seed Michigan in the first round. And one team that could be overrated is 4 seed Texas A&M, who gets upset-minded Yale. The Bulldogs took down Auburn in this same 4-13 matchup last year.
It was a great year last year, obviously. And we got pretty high after that first win. So I think now we know a little bit what to expect. And this team's just, super locked in for preparing and getting it done when next weekend comes.
The top 2 seeds in the West seem to be on a collision course. Florida, the SEC champs, and St. John's, the Big East champs, have identical 30-4 records heading into the tournament. The only team with a better record in this region is the Missouri Valley champions, Drake, at 30-3 in the tournament for a 3rd straight season. By the way, Drake is one of 6 Bulldog mascots in the dance, if you're picking by mascot. The Cinderella in this region could be Grand Canyon, who has been there, done that for the last 5 seasons, and possibly overrated, Texas Tech, dealing with some injury issues to star players. And speaking of injuries in the East, everyone is assuming Duke super freshman Cooper Flagg will be available after suffering a sprained ankle in the ACC tournament last week. If not for Friday's first-round matchup, at least he'll be available for Sunday. The Devils may eventually have to run and gun with Alabama, the 2 seed, but there are lots of obstacles in the way before they get there, including the possible dark horse in the East, high-flying Brigham Young, runner-up in the Big 12 tournament. They average 81 points per game. Watch out for the potential Cinderella Akron Zips, who have won 21 of their last 22 games. And overrated in this region could be Oregon, who was the 7th of 8 Big 10 teams to make the dance. They match up with 12 seed Liberty in the first round.
You don't win 28 games by accident. And so they were going to do something well. And we'll just have to challenge shooters, and our defense will have to be really good and try to limit their threes. But a team like that's always dangerous.
Last but not least, the Midwest, where Houston and Tennessee are the top 2 seeds. The Cougars won the Big 12 tournament, and the Vols finished 2nd in the SEC after beating Auburn and Alabama. They flirted with being a number 1 seed. The possible dark horse in this bracket is Clemson, who was the only team in the ACC to beat Duke this season. As for a Cinderella, I know it's strange to pick Texas in that scenario, but they are the 11 seed. They'll have to win a play-in game just to make it to the big bracket. And another SEC team could be overseeded. Kentucky, struggling on defense all season long, but they are one of a record 14 teams from that conference. Longhorns coach Rodney Terry described playing in that league.
In my 28 years of coaching Division I basketball, it was the most challenging conference race I've ever been a part of. As a coach, and I give my guys a lot of credit for staying the course and continue to work the season.
All right, here's hoping this rundown gives you a little knowledge when you're filling this out. My 7-year-old will probably beat me this year. One of the big storylines we'll watch is how many of those 14 SEC teams survive the first 2 rounds. The 64-team tournament gets underway at noon Eastern Time on Thursday. For Straight Arrow News, I'm Chris Francis.